The third round of the Carabao Cup concludes this week. Obviously, we had 4 matches last week, but the rest of the games in this stage of the competition are being played this week. So let's have a look at them, guys. Let's have a look at these games. I'm going to pick out 5 of the highlight ones, 5 of the most interesting games that are on this week in the Carabao Cup, the EFL Cup. Let's go. And we're going to start with Chelsea. They face a trip up to League One side Lincoln City on Tuesday night. Chelsea overall have been pretty good at the start of this season, but they've had a couple of defeats recently. Of course, they lost last time out in the Premier League to Manchester United, and they also lost away against Bayern Munich as well. Lincoln are very much in good form at the moment. They're up in third in the third tier of English football. So they're going to come into this one really with a lot of confidence. I expect it to be quite awkward for Chelsea, but once the deadlock has been broken, I expect the floodgates to very much open at that point. I'm going to go 3-0 to the Blues on this one, even though they will probably play a relative second-string side. Also on Tuesday night, we've got Barnsley against Brighton, another League One side against another Premier League team. Of course, Brighton absolutely hit Oxford United for 6 in their previous EFL Cup game. Quite literally, it was 6-0 to them. Barnsley, meanwhile, having a pretty decent season so far this campaign. They're in the playoff picture in the third tier of English football. Not bad at all, but yeah. But I do expect Brighton to show their quality in this one. I do expect them to win relatively comfortably, even though this is at Oakwell. I just think the way they play their football is really going to make it awkward for Barnsley. So I'm going to go with another 3-0 victory for the away Premier League side in this one. And we've got yet another League One side against a Premier League side. This is Huddersfield Town against Manchester City. Now we're into the Wednesday matches. Huddersfield, of course, managed to beat Sunderland away in the previous round to make it through to round 3, whereas Manchester City are playing their first game in the competition this season. Man City really made the Carabao Cup their own for a long period of time, but they've not won it for a little bit, so I imagine Pep Guardiola is going to want to win it again this season. They're not the favourites for the Premier League title, but they'll always be a threat, in particular in the cup competitions. So I don't think Man City are going to really mess around with this one. They're probably going to play their second string like Chelsea, but their second string is still good enough to be a decent Premier League side, so I think they'll have too much for Huddersfield in the end. I'm going to go with 2-0 to the Citizens. But let's head up to the northeast, where we've got Newcastle United against Bradford City. Now, Bradford are absolutely flying in League One, and I want to highlight them because they've had an incredible season. They were just promoted from League Two. They're at the top of League One. They just beat Cardiff City, the favourites to be promoted, away from home. Newcastle, meanwhile, it's been a mixed start for the season overall for them, but overall not too bad considering everything that went on in the transfer market. This is still Premier League against League One though, so I do expect Newcastle to get through, but I think it'll be awkward, you know. I think it's going to be a really tight game, this one. Newcastle are going to probably run and rotate. Bradford, of course, they came close to winning the EFL Cup, 2013, I think it was, something like that. So they've got a bit of history in this competition. Obviously, Newcastle as well, the defending champions. So there's a lot on the line here, but I do think the Geordie boys are going to have too much, but I think it's going to be tight. I'm going to go with 2-1 to Newcastle on this one. And the last game, Port Vale against Arsenal. Again, these League One sides, they are loving being drawn against Premier League teams here. Now, personally, I have been to Port Vale, and I must say their stadium was without a doubt one of the biggest I have ever had the dishonour of stepping foot in. So the Arsenal fans that are going to go up for this one, they are going to be in for a very rude awakening if they're used to Premier League stadiums. But in all seriousness, Port Vale are not having the best season in League One this time around. They're near the bottom of the table. They're in a bit of a relegation scrap. So I think Arsenal, they're just going to have too much for them. Simple as that. You know, even a second string Arsenal, you know, we saw against Manchester City, you know, their bench players, their backup players, you know, when they come onto the pitch, they can make a real impact, and they're going to look to shine in this match as well. I just see them absolutely blowing Port Vale apart, to be honest with you. I'm going to go with 5-0. High fives for Port Vale in this one. Sorry, guys. And that's what I think it's going to be for you. But, you know, it's good that you get to have a game against Arsenal. Should be a big crowd for you guys for that. But yeah, those are the EFL Cup matches I'm paying particular attention to this midweek. Let me know your score predictions in the comments below as always, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe. As always, guys, have a fantastic day wherever you're on the world today, and we'll see you very soon.